Hello, Unity travelers, and welcome. This is going to be a series of videos to help you learn how to use Unity's user interface objects. Uh, I'm going to be creating a login page and showing you how to set that up using Unity. And it's a beginner level series of videos, and so I will be skipping over some advanced features, but it should get you going and learning about the basics of how to use Unity's UI features. So this video specifically is going to be about creating a canvas, and let's get into it. So whenever I'm starting to work in UI in Unity, I like to switch to 2D view. By the way, this is just a completely blank, empty Unity project and scene. So I'm going to click this button here in the Scene View tab to switch to 2D. And this changes my view to 2D mode. And then now let's create our canvas object. So there's two ways to do that. I can right click here, go to UI, and click canvas, and there's our canvas object. You can also go to game object, UI, and canvas. So either of those will work. So let's talk about what a canvas is. So a canvas is essentially your holder for all of your user interface objects. It's going to be the parent for your user interface objects, and the purpose of it is to separate and render your user interface objects differently than your 3D or game objects or 2D objects, even if you are using a canvas in a 2D game. It's the same thing. It's like a separate window essentially to have your UI objects on. So here we have a canvas. If you can't see your canvas, you may be zoomed in correctly. So the way to fix that, just select your canvas and then move your mouse over to the Scene View tab. So in here, this middle part, and then press F. Let me zoom away so I can show you exactly what that looks like. I select canvas, move my mouse here, press F, and it will focus. That's what F stands for, focus, on that object. You can do that with any object, by the way. Just a nice little tip. That's a quick way to focus on an object. Okay, so let's go over this canvas component in the inspector tab. So the render mode is currently set to screen space overlay. Screen space overlay just means that your canvas is going to overlay the entire screen. Pretty simple. This is what you're going to use most of the time. It's good enough most of the time for a UI. You can imagine, for example, in your game, maybe you have lives or you have a health bar. That might be something that would always show up on screen and would always overlay the gameplay. So you could use something like this, screen space overlay. Another render mode is camera. This renders your canvas to a specific camera, but other than that, it's very similar to overlay. If that camera is active and is the current camera in view and it fills the entire screen, then it's going to be exactly the same as overlay. Here's my main camera. If I take this canvas and drag in that camera, now my canvas is essentially overlaying on top of that camera. So that's the point of screen space camera. And then finally, world space. World space, to best explain that, I'm going to create a 3D object. Let's create this cube. And again, remember, you can press F to focus on it. And let's switch out of 2D mode to get a better look at it. Also, to zoom in and out, I'm using the mouse wheel. And if I want to rotate around this cube, I hold Alt and left mouse button, and that allows me to rotate. So here's our cube, and we have this canvas, and I'm going to make it a child of the cube. And then I'm going to reset its positions. So position X, position Y, position Z. And I'm going to make it much smaller so it's easier for you to see by changing the scale. Okay, let me zoom out a little. Oops, I set this to 0 by accident. There you go. And now, using these arrows, I'm going to grab the canvas and move it up a little bit. And actually, this size is still too big, so let me make it a little smaller. There we go. Okay, so let me explain what just happened. So this canvas now can be used in 3D space and shown over an object. That is essentially the purpose of world space. For example, if I want a name card over an object, like a player, I would want to use a world space canvas. And now I can put text directly over my 3D object. So those are the 3 render modes. World space you won't use very often probably, especially when working in UI, but just so you know how that works and what the purpose is, that's what that's for. And then note, by the way, I now have these 3 arrows instead of that bounding box that I had for the canvas before. Well, the little blue circle and the bounding box that I had for the canvas before. To switch back to that, click on this rect tool, and you will see now it's back into UI objects are usually in this rect tool format because it allows us, to resize them easily, which is not something you can do with the movement tool. And you can also just click on them and move them around. That works too. But with a canvas, and for this specific video series, I'm going to move the canvas outside of the cube. It's not a child anymore. I'm going to delete the cube, and I'm going to change the canvas back to overlay. And we'll be in the rest of this series, our canvas will be an overlay. Once again, I'm going to select the canvas, go back to scene view, press F. Or let me actually switch to 2D first and then press F. Oops. Oh, I was pressing the wrong button. There we go, focus. And now we're back to seeing our canvas fully on screen. So in the next video, I will go over adding a UI object, a background, to your canvas.